What is freedom? I've been thinking about this a lot lately. And in a word, freedom is acceptance of what is. Freedom seems to be on the opposing end of a kind of tug of war between freedom and responsibility. Responsibility gets quite a bad rap, and I believe the reason why is because during the powerlessness and dependency of our childhood and adolescence, anytime we have to take responsibility or we are told we have to take responsibility, that responsibility is predicated on the judgment of others or let's say the authority figures or the ruling structures in our life. And so we are told what it is to take responsibility rather than naturally discover how we can take personal responsibility. And since we are told the ways in which we have to take responsibility, we feel we are giving up our free will because we're just following rules. We're just listening to someone else's judgment. And since this happens for years and years, a byproduct of this process is that we create an inner judge, an inner authority that is built upon the thoughts of the ones that we have seen or had demonstrated to us in childhood. And this inner judge takes a lot of energy to keep up. It's a big energy suck. It's a big density in us, this inner judge of goodness and badness and rightness and wrongness and villains and victims and heroes and perfection and all of these things, imperfection. And this judge obstructs our freedom because the judge needs evidence and needs proof. The judge needs to know what is going on. And the judge always finds the evidence and proof that it's looking for, even though there are, let's say, 7.5 billion different judges out there. It always seems to find the exact evidence and proof it needs to hold its position. And in this identifying who is the victim and who is the villain, whether we feel we are the victim and someone else is the villain, or we are the villain and someone else is the victim, we are dependent. There is no freedom in that. If we are the victim, we're dependent on the villain or the circumstances that produced our victimhood. If we are the villain, we're dependent on finding or having a victim. So there can be no freedom if we want to hold on to this energy in us, which is best called the judge. The judge is a mirage, an illusion, but it has real effects. It comes from the thought forms produced in childhood and adolescence, and it feeds off of our lower vibrations: shame, blame, guilt, anger, sadness, pity, despair. But it is nonetheless a mirage. And what it obscures is our inherent freedom. The inherent freedom in beingness. The inherent freedom in knowingness. The inherent freedom in trust. Trust that everything is exactly as it should be. Trust that we don't need to know. There is a knowingness that comes from freedom, but we don't need to know. We don't wish to know. We don't desire and have to know and project that discovery of knowingness onto others and shame them if they don't agree. It's okay if we know, it's okay if we don't. We inherently trust that we will when we must, and we won't when we don't need to waste the energy on it. And with this freedom that automatically is discovered when we relinquish the judge, there is an energy which naturally arises that I experience or call power. That power is coupled with a natural integrity. And with this power and integrity, it seems constantly there are opportunities that arise which we delight in taking responsibility for, or taking responsibility. Taking responsibility ends up becoming kind of a vehicle to which we can continue to realize and experience our inherent freedom, our inherent power, and our inherent beingness. There's no judgment about this. It just is. It just happens spontaneously, you could say. And so this feeling of power and integrity feeds into trust, feeds into that trust to accept what is. And this whole process naturally dissolves the mirage of the judge, or the mirage of the need to know and have proof about what is. We see it as a character, and if we feel into it in our bodies, we feel it as a character that takes a huge amount of energy, and a character that feeds off of the lower vibrations. And so if we want inherent power and integrity, we have to free up that energy somewhere. And one of the most effective ways I've found to free up that energy is to just let go of the judge. How do we let go of the judge? Probably the best way, as I always recommend, is sitting in stillness, finding some time every day to meditate, even just 5 or 10 minutes, so we can begin to recognize what's happening in the mind and recognize the difference between beingness in stillness and the experience or the drama that we call life. We can recognize the judge by consciously choosing to take responsibility. Even just consciously choosing through the ego to take responsibility will start to free up the lower vibrations and allow us to tap into and experience the higher vibrations, which are far more enticing, far more magnetic and curious, especially if we've dwelled in the lower vibrations for a very long time. Taking responsibility can be 5 minutes of meditation. Taking responsibility could be saying you're sorry to someone, truly, and feeling it in your body. Taking responsibility can be letting go of the little judgments that we make every day upon others or upon ourselves. Anytime you recognize that you are making a judgment, whether it's on yourself or someone else, you can take responsibility by letting it go and just seeing what happens in your body. Which feeling you prefer, the feeling of holding the judgment or the feeling of relinquishing the judgment. Taking responsibility could be finding ways to be kind to animals, to spiders that we normally kill in our house. Maybe let them outside. Or being kinder to others, strangers. Being kinder to anybody. Taking responsibility can be eating healthier foods and nourishing our bodies in the way that nature intended, let's say. Taking responsibility can happen in all kinds of ways, all throughout your day. There are infinite opportunities to take responsibility. And in just starting to do that and recognizing when you do take the responsibility, which feeling you prefer, holding the judgment or holding the tension or relinquishing the idea that you should take responsibility, or doing the action of taking the responsibility or letting go of the judgment or of letting go of the anger, of forgiving, of forgetting. When we feel into the body, when we're in this experience of being the judge, it feels like tension. It feels like, feels like rightness. It feels non-satisfying compared to relinquishing the judge, let's say. It feels satisfying if you don't know anything else, but when you start choosing to relinquish the judge, you realize how dissatisfying holding on to it actually is. And not only that, but to dangle a little carrot, holding on to the judge actually produces an immense amount of illness in your body, illness and disease. Holding on to the judge is like drinking poison every day. And judging others produces illness in them. Judging objects, judging things produces sickness. It does not give rise to beingness or natural life. And you can do a little experiment. You can take a flower, or take 2 flowers, let's say, from outside. Find flowers, wildflowers, or flowers in your own garden, and cut the flowers, bring them into your house, and place one flower in one room and another flower in another room. And every single day, for just maybe 30 seconds, go to the first flower and feel feelings of love and feel feelings of joy and admire the flower's beauty, admire and appreciate it, hold gratitude for it, and really emotionally connect with it and feel all of the positive vibrations and share them with the flower, and thank the flower for offering you the opportunity to experience these vibrations. And then go to the second flower at a different time in the day and damn the flower and curse it and judge it and think of how ugly it is and how unattractive it is, and think that it's going to die soon and what's the point of it doing anything at all. And hold all these low vibrations and sit with that flower. And after just a few days, 3, 4, 5 days, however many you'd like to, you may notice a very stark difference in these 2 flowers. For all of you skeptics out there who think that vibration don't have an effect, the vibrations we hold very much have an organic effect on others. And so years and years and years of self-judgment, what kind of effect do you think that has on your body? Or years of judging others, the villain that we've painted, what kind of effect does it have on that person or those groups of people that we deem the villain? Nobody wants to be condemned with someone else's low vibration and thoughts. And energetically, we're very sensitive to these things. We feel that. And so, of course, this would produce natural enemies. So what might happen then if we hold a different vibration for our enemies, or for those that we deem villains to us? Or hold a different vibration to the villain inside of ourselves? Well, you have nothing to lose to find out. What I suspect you'll find is freedom and power and integrity and trust and acceptance of what is. And I think you'll also find that being the judge and holding the energy required to perpetuate the judge unattractive. Not necessary, really, truly, not necessary at all. Life doesn't have to be hard. That's the secret. Surprise! We are, always were, and always will be free, inherently in our being. It is only us who unconsciously choose to obscure this truth. And so we can consciously choose not to, or practice trying to choose not to, for start. Little by little, freeing up energy. That's all it is. I hope that this video inspires you to discover your own freedom and to give up your judge or your victimhood or the villainry that exists within you or outside of you.